Last week we began our journey into the second story of creation in Genesis 2:4 to the end of the third chapter. It's an interesting read about the Garden of Eden. And after the prohibition that it's clear that humanity is finite, the second story of creation continues with verse 18. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Adam, saying, you may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge you shouldn't eat. So there's a prohibition. Then the Lord God said, it's not good that the man should be alone. I will make a helper fit for Adam. So out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field, bird of the air, brought them to the man to see if he would call them. Whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the cattle, to the birds of the air, to every beast of the field, but for man there was not found a helper for Adam. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. Then the man said, this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. And man and his wife were both naked, and they were not ashamed. I went to seminary, to grad school. I decided to take Hebrew. I had 2 years of Greek in college, and had discovered the value of exploring the New Testament in the original language, so I took the plunge into Hebrew. It was a total different language. Eastern in its origins as over against Western language of Greek. It's just a different way of thinking. But the difference means in terms of translation that the translation from an Eastern language to English has been in many cases a significant altering of the text. After about a month in Hebrew, Dr. Ross gave us a limited vocabulary along with the assignment to translate Genesis from the original Hebrew to English, the verses I just read, with the clear instruction not to use any English translation in the study aid. We did this, and the result was some members of the class saying, well, this is wrong. The original Hebrew is wrong because it's different than what all of us have been taught. Well, the original Hebrew is different than what I just read. The original Hebrew is that Adam, A-D-A-M, meaning man or humanity, the original human went to sleep. Adam never woke up. The story is not that Adam was a male. Adam was non-sexually differentiated human. And from Adam, male and female were created simultaneously, equally. Now, the words for male and female are Ish and Isha. In the original text, Adam wasn't used anymore because that was the original human being without any sexual differentiation. But after he went to sleep, Ish and Isha were created together from Adam. In this story of creation, male and female were once one, and therefore there is a natural desire for human beings to be attracted to each other, to become one flesh again. Now, imagine being gathered around the campfire, and the prompting question was asked, why do males and females have sexual intercourse? The story then is told, because males and females were once one, and as one lonely Adam, Yahweh created males and females. Sexual intercourse, clinging to each other, is natural and without shame. Now, Professor Ross used this early assignment to open our eyes to the importance of studying the original language instead of relying on translations from Hebrew to Latin to English that were all influenced by cultural, political, social, and economic factors, which meant that the original cornerstones were oftentimes, like this one, were lost or ignored. We must always remember that the first English translation that was circulated widely was from Latin to English without any Hebrew scholars at the table of translation. Now, the second creation story that we read today is that Adam was a male and woman was created from the male, and therefore males were created first, women were subservient, women exist to satisfy the loneliness of men, and therefore women are dependent upon men, and men had the right of almost possession and domination. But the original story is different. Males and females were created together at the same time so that neither would be alone. Neither sex is dominant. Sexual intimacy is the created order. Sexual intimacy is without shame. Ish and Isha were in the beginning one in Adam, and therefore there's a natural inclination and desire to be one again with another. Now, the cornerstone of this understanding of sexual intimacy and family structure and gender equality was put in place as this story was told. And that cornerstone is that the desire for sexual intimacy is good and without shame. Now, to be sure, our journey in the Western world has in many ways wandered from the original cornerstone. Sexual desire has in many faith communities been taught and practiced as sinful and dirty. Male sexual supremacy has been taught and heralded. The highest calling has been abstinence from sexual intercourse. Rights have been given exclusively to males because they were the first in creation. That's not the cornerstone from the second story of creation. The cornerstone is that the desire for sexual intimacy is good without shame. Now, this cornerstone is evident when there's mutual respect between the genders. When males and females are considered to be equal in human rights and responsibilities. When marriage is considered to be a covenant of equal partners, that's a true cornerstone. A starting point in providing stability for the construct of marriage and family life for 3,000 years in the Judeo-Christian culture. Remember what a cornerstone is. It's a starting point for construction and provides stability for construction. And you see, this cornerstone is the starting point and provides stability for the construct of marriage and family life for the past 3,000 years. Well, you've got the same experiences today as I had as a person that was taking Hebrew 101. But it creates a lot to think about. First of all, in 2021, what are the practices and attitudes that prevail even in Winfield that deny this cornerstone? Secondly, in 2021, what can be celebrated as expressions of this cornerstone in our culture? But thirdly, in many parts of the world, women's rights to vote, to drive, to divorce are sought to achieve equality with men who have these rights. Does this cornerstone shed light on why, in many cases, advocating for the rights of women is a faith-driven movement? A lot to think about. Our second cornerstone from the second story of creation.